Namaste, Namaskaram, hello India. I'm Paul and welcome back to the third episode of Ask Google Devs India. If you're just hopping on to this video series and you missed the last two episodes on Kotlin and Android 11, check them out in the link down below. In this broadcast, we'll answer your questions on web technologies. We received questions on PWA, performance, Web Vitals, and Angular. And we don't just have one or two, but a total of three experts lined up to answer you today. They are Google's developer advocates, Stephen Fluin and Andre Bandara, and web ecosystem consultant, Saurabh Rajpal. Now, before you hear from them, here are the top updates from India's developer ecosystem. Beginning June, GDGs across India have been hosting online meetups to discuss what's new in Android 11. They've had as many as 20 events lined up already and a lot more to come. You can attend one too by clicking the link in the description below and signing up for an Android 11 event of your choice. GDGs have also hosted web.dev Live India, which was a 4-day online event covering topics like performance, developer tools, AMP, PWA, privacy, and a lot more. The event featured 26 speakers and 5,000 developers tuned in to watch it. You can also watch all of the talks at the following link. This year, Google Cloud has transformed the annual Cloud Next event into an all-digital experience called Google Cloud Next OnAir. 11 of India's GDG Cloud and GDG communities have come together to conduct Google Cloud Next Extended OnAir. Now, extended events tailor the Cloud Next content for the regional developers. The communities will be covering the latest in Google Cloud through demos, deep dives, and a host of speakers from all over the world are set to join. And it's going to go on for 9 weeks, so please find an upcoming session and register at the link below. And of course, whether you are an aspiring developer, a student developer, or a professional, we have programs that will interest you. So click through the link and see how you can join a developer community near you. Now, those were the top updates for you. It's now time to answer your questions on web technologies. So over to you, Stephen, Andre, and Saurabh. Stay tuned till the end. I'll be announcing the topic for the next episode.
So thank you very much, Paul. So let's kick off with the first question. I want to learn more about progressive web apps and if Flutter can be used for PWAs. PWAs have been around for a while, and there's plenty of content available on the topic. And a lot of that content is free. web.dev/learn is a great place to start. It has a dedicated section on progressive web apps. It covers beginners topics like what are progressive web apps and more advanced topics like how to create your own app install experience. Make sure to check out the content. And for the Flutter part, it has beta support for web apps. Check flutter.dev/web for updates.
Yes, thanks Andre for pointing out to web.dev/learn as a starting place. According to me, it's a great learning hub with dedicated sections for many topics, including web performance. Some of you might already be aware that there are new performance metrics being introduced very recently, which are called Web Vitals. As the name suggests, these metrics are pretty critical for your website, indicating the quality of user experience. Just like PWAs, there's a dedicated section on Web Vitals, and its link is web.dev/vitals. We also had one of you asking about how to get started in web technologies. Are there any resources, or what is the future in this technology? So I want to say that while web.dev is the hub of all modern web techniques, for the people looking out to begin learning more about web fundamentals and curious about learning path in the field of web, one can additionally choose to refer developers.google.com/web for very exciting resources linked to code labs, videos, and much more. There's also a Chrome developers YouTube channel which releases a lot of videos regularly on Chrome and web updates. Make sure to subscribe to that too. Lastly, I want to cover that it's been 20 years for the web technology. Many technologies have come and vanished, but the web has been prevalent primarily because it still remains the first touch point for any user explaining a new business. Ask this question to yourself. Don't you first visit a company's website as soon as you want to try it out or know more about its offerings? If you answered yes, which you probably would have, then you know it. Web is here to stay, and companies of all sizes have understood how important it is to offer good web experience to the first-time users, so that they graduate later to be their loyal customers who download apps or continue to use website as returning users. Stephen, over to you for sharing about getting started about Angular.
There are lots of great ways of getting started with a career in web technologies with Angular. On our website, we have a great URL, angular.io/start, that hosts a tutorial that lets you get started with Angular fast without requiring any sort of setup or installs. If, for example, you're already familiar with technologies like Node.js or command line or terminal, we have other guides and tutorials as well. Check out angular.io for all of our guides, tutorials, and documentation. Back to you, Andre.
Thanks, Stephen. For the next question, what are the best practices for progressive web apps? So let's start by the baseline, the minimum your PWA should do. It should start fast and stay fast. It must work in any browser and have a responsive screen to any size. It should provide an offline page and be installable. Now, for an optimal experience, you should provide a full offline experience. It must be fully accessible and discoverable by search. It must work with any input type and provide context when requesting permissions. Check out web.dev/PWA checklist for more in-depth information. As I mentioned, start fast and stay fast. I think Web Vitals is the update version of the Rail model. Is it?
Thanks, Andre, for bringing this up. As you rightly pointed out, one aspect of building a useful PWA is to give an app-like fast and seamless experience even on the web. And hence, performance becomes a critical piece to keep an eye for. Core Web Vitals are the subset of Web Vitals that apply to all web pages, should be measured by all site owners, and will be surfaced across all Google tools. Each of the Core Web Vital represents a distinct facet of the user experience, is measurable in the field, and reflects the real-world experience of a critical user-centric metric. The metrics that make up Core Web Vitals will evolve over time as we also learn more about the increasing user experience needs and expectations in this rapidly evolving world. Having said that, the current set for 2020 focuses on three aspects. First, loading, second, interactivity, third, visual stability, and includes the following metrics for each one of them. First, LCP, also known as largest contentful paint. This measures loading performance. To provide a good user experience, LCP should focus or occur within 2.5 seconds of when the page first starts loading. Second, FID, also known as first input delay, which measures interactivity. To provide a good user experience, pages should have a FID of less than 100 milliseconds. Third, CLS, which is cumulative layout shift. This measures visual stability. To provide a good user experience, pages should maintain a CLS of less than 0.1. Now that we know what Common Web Vital is, let's see how it is different or complementary to the Rail model. Rail stands for 4 different aspects of web app life cycle: response, animation, idle, and load. That's Rail for you. Users have different performance expectations for each of these contexts. So performance goals are defined based on the context and how users perceive delays, which is based on our UX research. Hence, Rail is a lens for looking at websites' user experience as a journey composed of distinct interactions. So basically, it actually covers the interactivity part of the website more in detail. Therefore, CWV is not an updated version of RAIL model. Rather, if you follow Rail model guidelines, you are in a way working towards solving the interactivity problems faced by the users, thereby improving your Web Vitals metrics like first input delay and total blocking time. Andre, apart from speed, you mentioned building offline experience is useful while building a good PWA. Do you have any related question for that?
Thank you, Sarba. For the next question, how do we make a post request in a PWA while the app is in offline mode and send it to the server when connected to the internet again? The background sync API makes it easy to achieve this. With this API, we can ask the service worker to do the request for us. If the user is offline, it will automatically send the post request when the connectivity is restored. On the application, we first register the service worker. Then, on the form submission, we make a background sync request. This will be intercepted in the service worker on the sync event. We can then send the actual post request. The API has good browser support, but it doesn't work everywhere yet. We can solve this by using feature detection. Check for the sync manager and if it's available, trigger the sync event, as discussed previously. Otherwise, just proceed as you would do normally when handling a post request. Hey Stephen, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the specifics for Angular when dealing with this situation?
Sure. All of the same PWA best practices apply in the Angular ecosystem, but you can also take advantage of tools like NGRX that can make it simpler to sync and save the application state with a temporary storage like local storage. While building offline use cases is really important to help users, one has to keep in mind the amount of storage one can use. Over to Andre to answer a similar related question.
Is there any limit to store data on browser? And if then, how can we increase the size of storing data on the browser? Yes, all browsers have limits on how much data an application can store, and it varies across browsers. Chrome, for instance, allows using up to 60% of disk space. Internet Explorer 10 and later allow up to 250 megabytes, and will prompt the user when more than 10 megabytes is used. Firefox allows up to 10 gigabytes. Safari seems to support 1 gigabyte and prompts the user for 200 megabyte increments. The Storage Manager API allows developers to query the browser on how much space an app has available to use. Unfortunately, it is not supported in all browsers yet. Check for more details on web.dev/storage-for-the-web. A related topic to this is cache eviction. By default, it happens in a best effort mode, and it means that the browser will start deleting data, starting by the least recently used origin, or simply prevent more data to be saved. Behaviors change slightly between browsers. I recommend checking the storage blog post for more details. As we can see, limits are very generous, and data shows that in most cases, data is deleted by user manually instead of being evicted. Sometimes developers may have critical use cases, and the persistent storage API can be used. The API is straightforward. It is just calling navigator.storage.persist. But there are two important things to know. The first one is that when the API is invoked, the browser will display a permission dialog to the user. And the second thing is that the data will be deleted even if the user manually clears storage. Check the blog post on web.dev/persistence-storage for more information. There were a lot of specific questions about Angular, and I'd let Stephen walk you through them. Over to you, Stephen.
Why should one prefer Angular over other alternatives? There's lots of great ways of building great web applications, and on the Angular team, we think that a diverse ecosystem of tools is essential to giving developers choice and empowering them to build the best applications for their needs. Many people like to choose Angular because it has an opinionated, batteries-included approach that features things like a CLI, routing, internationalization, and much more built in. Angular is great for large projects or large teams where you have to worry about things like testability, scale, and maintainability. How is the new trademark organization for open source going to affect Angular? The Angular trademark is now part of the Open Usage Commons. This is a group created to make it easier for organizations to rely on the use of trademarks like Angular in the same way that the MIT license lets you use and modify Angular source code. We really don't expect this to affect any teams or organizations, and this move should only serve to help protect you in the future. What type of AI learning is included in Angular, or what kind of projects can be made on Angular related to AI? Angular is a front-end focused framework, but you can integrate any AI or ML solutions you like. We often see developers using machine learning for things like preloading code that a user is likely to need. Guest.js is a JavaScript library that does just this, and it was created by a member of the Angular team.
Lastly, some of you asked questions which were not part of either of the categories of PWAs, Web Vitals, or Angular. However, in the web community's interest, we still selected a few of the interesting ones and would try to give you the best possible answers. So here goes the first question in the miscellaneous category. This question is more around how is Google officially helping CMSs like WordPress, WooCommerce, and many more to ensure it's easier for CMS developers to build websites leveraging AMP and PWA. To answer that, I'd say there are tons of CMSs around the world, and it's not easy to officially roll out plugins for each one of them. In fact, it's impossible to even convince them to add such requirements in their roadmaps. However, teams at Google have been pretty invested in rolling out features and official plugins for WordPress, which is still the most widely used CMS as of 2020. As part of these initiatives, Google, along with community contributors of course, already have official plugins for AMP, PWA, and Sitekit for WordPress. The slides in parallel showed you the links for the same. Don't get disappointed if you are using some of the other platforms, and if you do wish to see some more official plugins to be rolled out for your favorite CMS. Just make sure to raise issues in the official forums and let the open source community +1 to those issues. The teams at Google want to ensure maximum developers in the ecosystem are getting benefited with their efforts. And if there's a huge demand on any of the other platforms, I'm sure our teams would be happy to start working on them. Maybe they're already working for your favorite CMS while we're still discussing it right now. For the second question in the miscellaneous category, we actually clubbed a few of the similar looking questions together, where people were asking about the best way to get started with learning as a beginner. Also, if one should focus on first learning HTML, JS, CSS, and so on, or should they start with learning a particular framework like Angular, React, etc.? Well, as a beginner, one should definitely focus on the learning the basics right. For example, if you invest your good enough time on learning vanilla JavaScript, then it's a smooth journey for you to learn any of the JVM frameworks in the wild. And that's the best way to go about it. There are tons of material available online across different formats. There are official docs, official videos, tutorials, code labs, and much more. For example, for JavaScript, you have W3 School's exhaustive tutorials. For Angular, you have angular.io. For React, you have reactjs.org and much more. Just pick and choose the one that you find the most interesting. One more thing I want to highlight here is that since AMP, which is Accelerated Mobile Pages, is a component-based framework and one doesn't need to go through a steep learning curve for learning JavaScript and CSS, which are kind of allowed very restrictively within AMP, beginners find it amazing to get started with it and making amazing websites. The official AMP team has created 3 basic AMP learning courses with proper tutorials and hands-on code labs. To top that all, AMP has an amazing official documentation on amp.dev, where you can find tons of examples and even an online playground to experiment right within the browser. You can access these resources at amp.dev/documentation/courses. Now, I'll pass on the ball to Andre for taking us through the last 2 questions in the miscellaneous category.
Thanks, Robert. For the next question, can we use Firebase in web applications? Yes. Not only most APIs like authentication, real-time database, Firestore, and others work, but Firebase also provides a hosting feature that enables serving both static or dynamic web content. Check firebase.com/docs/hosting for more. And for the next question, how can I implement AI ML in web tech? There are many ways to use AI or machine learning in web tech. TensorFlow.js is a powerful tool that enables ML on Node.js and the browser. You can use it to run existing model or create your own custom model. Check tensorflow.org/js for tutorials, models, and demos. And there you go. Thanks for sending your questions, and you hope you have enjoyed watching the video as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Stephen, Andre, and Saurabh for answering the questions on web technologies. Ask Google Devs India's next episode will be on Google Cloud. So drop your questions in the form link in the description below. And as always, if you'd like to know more about the latest shows from Google Devs India, hit the subscribe button. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Google Devs IN. Thank you all, folks. Stay safe and see you all in the next episode.